Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. We are still working at the creating an elevator tutorial series, and we finished the tutorial using array in the past part of the series, and now we have to work to create the same rendering using Final Render. So we have just to re-prepare the illumination and prepare again the shaders, and we have just to render. So first of all, we can go there inside the rendering setup, and we can assign as a renderer, but let's link the material editor and the production, and we can assign final render stage 1. Okay, so we are ready to use it, and we have just to start playing with all the material, and we can, for example, trying to let's go there and let's use the old to save the actual status of the scene. We can select the roof lamp, and we can go there and a new material, let's call it final render lamp, and we can assign it to the lamp there, and let's see which shader we have inside the material editor, and you see that we have final render light. Let's try to discard the old material, and we use a color, and for the moment we stay with the basic default there, and let's activate also the affect specular, and again all the other objects we can assign a simple shader. So select invert, and we assign this one. Maybe we can create just a final render advanced just to have a final render shader. Let's go in the exposure control, and we can remove it, and let's go there and let's try to render. Let's do maybe a little bit, a really little render, and let's use the bucket size to 32, and you see that we have just the lamp. Let's go in direct illumination, enable, and let's go for fast in the adaptive Quasi Monte Carlo. Render, and you see that's our basic illumination, and we are working on an interior, so we can also imagine to use the Harmonix GI to illuminate the secondary engine, and you see that it's not so slow and the quality is really interesting. We can obviously set in a simpler way the illumination, and you see that's the render, and it's cleaner than the other version. So we can stay with the Harmonix, and we can use a low number of samples, so it will be faster to be rendered, you see, and we have enough release. Okay, so it seems that the basic lighting can be really simple. So we can go back to the fetch version, so the first one. Okay, and we can start to playing with a scene. So let's go there, and we have the lamp. The lamp can be just a final render light, discard the old one, and we stay with this default value there. Okay, and we have also the other there, and we try to have the same but with a different color. So final render light, discard old one, and the color will be this one. And then let's continue to work on the shaders we have there, and we have the white metal plate. So we are talking about a metal plate, and we can use this one is the texture, so copy, and we can make final render advanced, use the map there, and later we can play on the shaders to I'd like to convert all those shaders, and then we can work shader by shaders to create the final version. Let's go there. We have there the door, and we have just this texture, if I remember well, and we have just a noise. So we need this map, so we can copy it there as a copy, and we can use the other one as a map. So copy, and we have a final render advanced, and we can paste it there. And then we need inside the bump there, this one, and let's try a really low bump. Okay, and later we have to check also the shaders there. Let's go there. We have the button light, so we are talking about the light for the buttons there. So we can go for let's select the color, copy. We can go for a final render light, discard all one, and paste, and later we fix the other value. Then we have the lamp grid is a metal, so we can prepare directly a final render advanced, and we can go for a reflectivity and a darker color, and just to have a starting way, let's try with 8 for the IRR, and let's try to have an eye level for the specularity, so just to start. Okay, we have a basic setup. Let's save, and let's try to render, and we can see how many material, let's stop it, we have still to check, and I like to see, for example, this one is okay, this one is just, you see, a really fast way. Okay, this one is not the right one, so that's metal, and that's the color, so it can be like this, paste, and let's go to have some reflection, and let's say maybe 6, and we'll have a little bit of specularity. And then let's see this material, it's an arcandescine and has low reflectivity and really high glossy sample. So let's go for a final render advanced, gray, dark gray, and let's say something like that, and let's say 10 for the IRR, and we need the blurring, a really high blurring. Okay, let's check more shaders. I think we have to check this one, the wall, and the wall has a map in the glossiness, so we have a really specular, and we have for sure, I think, also a noise. Let's copy it there. Okay, and then back there we need this map, the glossiness, so copy, and we do a final render advanced. Let's go for 12 for the moment, really high specularity, reflectivity, and the blurry map there. Okay, and then we can try to check it later. Now I'd like just to set the basic value. Let's try to make a really fast render there, so let's try with 350 and global illumination enable. Obviously we have to set everything again because the fetch resets everything, so there we have to use the fast, and there we have to set the harmonics GI, and let's go for 250, and let's save, and let's render. Continue. It is searching for a map, but we can check it later. we have for sure to check some stuffs and fix it. Okay, we have a lot of illumination, so let's set there and exposure control. Let's remove it and let's see what happened. Okay, you see that now it's a little bit more similar to the old version we had before. We have to check this shader there and also this shader there. Okay, so we need this one, and this one. So let's close, close, and close. And let's go there, an empty slot, and we need this one. It's an Arcandesign with an high reflectivity, with brightness. Okay, we need this one, copy, advanced. We are able to render the shader coming from Mentoray because it is a feature for Final Render to be able to render the Arcandesign shader. And let's paste it there. And we need reflectivity, and let's say with a little bit of blurriness, and later we can fix it. Let's try with 6 for the IRR, and let's try to have a little bit of specularity, and we have to fix it later. I like to check also the shaders there. We have a glass, and this one can be Final Render Advanced, black color for the diffuse, and we need the refraction set to white, and we can go for 1.4 for the moment. And for the reflectivity, we can have a little bit of reflectivity, and let's go for 1.4 for the IRR, and let's have a little bit of specularity. Okay, and we need also, that's the glass, and let's say to hide just for a moment, and we need the shaders for the image mapped on the monitor. So let's pick it, and you see that's the map. Okay, we need this one, copy, and we have the same there. So Final Render Light, discard all map, and we need a texture, so paste as a copy, you see, and let's say 650 as we done before, and maybe we have to fix it later. Affect specular and close, and now we have, I think, maybe some shaders there. That's the glass, so we have the same, and the problem is with illumination there, so we can prepare it later. And save and check the render gain. Okay, so we have the basic setup. Now we can start playing with all the parameters, trying to figure a way to have a really interesting look. So let's open the old version. Okay, this one. So that's our previous version render. It's using final Mentoray, and I'd like to go there, environment, we have nothing. Okay, and we have no light inside. Let's select the camera, and Final Render has its sound feature there, and let's say that we have an indoor nighttime. Let's make the first test. You see that we can render a preview there, and you see that it's really illuminated. and let's say indoor daylight. Okay, and I'd like to play a little bit also with the other parameters, and I see that we have a lot of light, so I don't like so much the lighting there outside, so I'd like to see if we have something wrong inside the scene, but we have so just the lighting from there. Let's see if we have something inside the skylight. Okay, let's set to 0 and let's make another preview because I don't want to have the skylight. So let's go back to indoor nighttime. Let's try to have a little bit more ISO speed and a little bit of fixing, and 20, something around 120, and let's see something there over the playing, you see, with the image, and that's really interesting because you see we have a complete control over the image directly using the image control there. We can have more saturation or less saturation. Let's try with 125, and let's see to have a little bit of vignetting there, and let's see what happens. Okay, it's a little bit better than before, and I like to start playing with the material now. It's time. We have also the possibility, you see, to have the depth of field directly there, and we have also the possibility to have the glare. Let's see when we render using the glare which kind of effects we have directly on the virtual frame buffer. And you see that we have the glaring over there, and we can fix it later without the need to have to do it in compositing. Okay, back on the scene, and I like to start playing with a shader. So first of all, let's play with the deployment, and I like to have more bright there, and let's make a copy for the diffuse, and let's copy it there, and there in the map, in the shading maps we can use it a little bit lower. Let's do 55, and let's do something like a little bit of roughness, and to do the roughness we can go there, copy the same map, and let's say maybe 15 for the roughness. And now I like to have more reflectivity, so let's go for 10 for the IRR, and let's remove the blurring, and let's go for an EV reflectivity, and render just this area there. Okay, see the reflectivity there. Let's use an higher reflectivity to see it better. Okay, but I like to have less roughness, and let's say maybe a little bit less reflectivity. and more specularity. Okay, and we can change a little bit the color correction there. And I like to have it a little bit brighter. Okay, and we have to add also the let's use an RGB multiplier because we need also the ambient occlusion. So RGB multiply, keep all map, and the second map will be the final render ambient occlusion, and let's say maybe 3 meters and a half. Let's try again. I need a bigger area to check it better. Okay, now the reflectivity is really high, so let's go back to a lower level of reflectivity. Let's say something around, and let's try with 30. So we have the reflection, but it is lower, and I think we need some changes to the shaders there, but we can work it step by step. So let's reset the material editor, save, and let's work on the other shaders. Let's start from this one, the door, and actually we have just the bump, and we have just the diffuse color, and we have no reflectivity. Let's check the rendered version, and we have a level of reflectivity, so let's try with maybe 100, and let's go for this area. So you see that now we have the reflection there over the metals. Okay, I'd like to have a little bit more reflection. Let's say 4, and let's check it again. So you see we have an higher level of reflection actually. Okay, and let's start playing with the blurring, and let's go for 60. Obviously I'm not trying to have the same image, I'm just trying to obtain a really interesting look using the this other version. I like to change also a little bit the color of the reflectivity, and let's go for a darker, so we'll have less reflection. Okay, we can have a little bit more orange color, and we can have more blurriness. Let's try with 80. Maybe now it's too much. It is a little bit too much actually, so we need a little bit less blurry. Let's try with 70. Okay. Okay, that's not bad. Let's work a little bit there on the specular level, and let's go for something similar to the surface color, and let's go for an anisotropy to have a better look. Okay, let's stay with this value. Save. Now I'd like to play a little bit with this one. Let's see how we done in the past. A little bit of glossiness. So let's check again. Okay, let's try with 50, and the reflectivity can be a little bit colored. Let's see what happened. Okay, we need for sure more glossiness, and I'd like also to add a little bit more specularity and a little bit of anisotropy. Okay, and let's change a little bit the color to something more similar to the surface but more red. Okay, okay, and back again with a little bit less reflection, with a little bit of more coloring, and let's go for 60 for the blurring. Okay, I will stay with this value. It's really not bad. Okay, save. Let's play a little bit with this shader there, the glass shader. And we have to use for sure more sampling, but we have for sure to check a little bit also this material, and let's try to have a lower output. Let's go for 0.5, and sorry, I need to change a little bit the color. So where we have the white, let's try with a okay, no, because we have the invert, so I have to change the colors there. It should be this way. Let's try with 99. Okay, and let's try again to see if we have a little bit less glossiness. Sorry, I done in the wrong way, I think. Let's go back to black, and let's remove the invert. Continue. Okay, so let's see yield 1. It is a little bit different. We can also having a little bit of distortion there over this metal and a little bit less red. So let's go there. Let's have a more neutral color and more blurring, and a little bit of bumping, so we can copy this one because we are talking about metals, so it's the same. And let's go there, bump, paste, and just 5. Okay, and we were working there. Let's see this map. So I like to change a little bit, and let's remove. Okay, and we have, let's try with 32, and let's see if we like it or if we have to invert. Okay, and we need for sure a little bit more sampling there, but we can fix it later. And another thing I'm trying to figure is the monitor there is right. Let's see the glass. Okay, it's not visible. And hide by name, the screen glass, and let's render just this area there. I'd like to check a little bit there the shader and a little bit more specularity, and let's go there. Let's say maybe 3 for the higher for the reflection, and let's go for more reflectivity. So we have some reflection over the monitor, and I prefer. Okay, let's close and save, and we have to work on the lamp there. So let's select this area, let's render, and we'll see the differences with the old one. Okay, let's pick the old one, and you see the color is similar, the reflectivity too, but we have more lighting coming from this lamp. So let's go there and let's select this lamp, and let's say that we have maybe 4,000 and half, and affect specular, and let's render again. So you see we have more lighting, maybe it's enough. Sorry, I like to see a bigger area of the environment to be sure. Okay, it seems not bad. We have to play a little bit with this one. Okay, sure, I'm just checking some stuffs all around, and we have to add also the ambient occlusion there. Let's make a test. So that's our map, and we have to do an RGB multiply, keep all map, and the second one will be an ambient occlusion 350, and we need the same, so copy also there, and there we have just the color, so we have to do a diffuse, paste as a copy, and we can pick this color, copy. So we have the ambient is this color and the occlusion is the other color. Let's make a render to see the differences. It is a little bit slower, obviously, because we are using the ambient occlusion map, but it will be a little bit more realistic. Okay, and we need also for the glass. So there, and we need the gray. The glass must be completely black, and the reflection will be completely white. So we don't need actually for the moment the ambient occlusion. We have to check a little bit this map. We are talking about a metal plate. So to do the metal plate, we need for sure a really high reflectivity, and we'll have a reflection, let's say an IRR of 6, and we have a specularity with anisotropy, and let's make a test render just for this area. Okay, actually the reflection is really high, and let's go for a lower reflection. It is better, and let's try to have a blurring. Let's try with 50. Okay, see, it's a little bit better. Maybe we can go also for a 60 and a little bit less reflection. Okay, it's not bad. Okay, let's check. Let's say I'd like to make a complete preview, just to be sure that everything is going the right way. Maybe we have to fix a little bit the shadows, because now we have the ambient occlusion, so we have more shadows inside the room. So we can tune a little bit the camera parameters. So let's close there, and let's go in the camera, render preview. Takes a little bit of time. You see that it's really dark. Let's go for 1 for the midtones, maybe 0.9. Okay, and let's have a little bit less shadows, and let's check also another material. I had this one, and we have to check the floor number. So select there, and we have the map there. So let's copy, and we need again a final render light, discard all map, and we need this texture there, and let's say 650, and affect specular, and let's see just this area to be sure that it is working. Okay, it works, and go back. Sorry. Okay, and let's unhide by name, but we have before to lock there. Unhide by name, screen glass, and save, and back to the entire image. Let's check just another time. It seems really not bad. We have to add the ambient occlusion to the pavement too. Okay, we have everything working in the right way. Okay, so let's select the maybe we have it there. No. Okay, let's select there, and this one we have the ambient occlusion, but it's not working so much. Let's check the last render. Sure, because we have also the reflection, it's not so visible. Let's try to have more reflectivity just one time. Let's try with 3. I like to see if we can obtain a better look there. It seems always the same. Okay, let's go back and close. And I like to see the depth of field now. So let's select again the camera, and we have the camera set to multipass. We can remove it. Okay, we have the target distance there. Let's see the depth of field. Let's go for the hexagon, and let's see what happened. For example, in this area. We have also to check the speed. So if it is becoming too much slow, it is better to do it using a comp software in post. It is not so slow, and you see that we have a little bit there over the wall, and that's not bad. Okay, so let's go back there. Let's remove the depth of field, and let's set for this area the glare. So we need to render at the final resolution. Let's go for the 600. Okay, and let's set the glare to on and render. Sorry. And let's see what happened. Obviously, without the depth of field it's faster, so you can activate it just at the end when you are ready to render the final image. Okay, we have to have a lower density and a lower radius. So let's go for 2 for the radius, and we can test it on a more little area. Okay, it is a little bit better than before, and we can go for, I think, radius 1 and density 40, and let's check again. And obviously you can add more effects and glaring just using a composing software or a software as Photoshop. It is just to make an interesting look directly in rendering, and that's not bad. Okay, I think I like to have a more clear lighting there, but you can add, for example, a glow there with, for example, a flare or something like that. Okay, so we're ready to render the final image, and to render the final image, let's do middle version of the rendering. Let's try, for example, for 400. Let's remove the render region. We render without the depth of field actually, and we need the final render, and we can go, for example, with, let's try with fast, let's try to have more bouncing, let's try with 4. Sorry. It is a little bit slower than before, but the illumination will be more precise. and I think that's okay. So let's save for the moment. And another thing we have to do is to find the best quality for the rendering. So we need for sure, maybe we can go for the medium plus. That's really not bad. And we can go there to maybe, let's try with 500. And for the moment we can stay with the setup, and we need also the anti-alias Michelin Neutrality, and 50 it's not bad. You see that it means that we have 116, so it's really not bad. Let's close and let's try to make just an area just to see how it looks, and render again. You see that we have a better lighting. Maybe we can try also to have more sampling. We are doing a really simple setup for final render, so it's nothing so complex. We can see in the future how to optimize the rendering engine to obtain faster rendering or more precise rendering. You see that now it is slower using the higher level of quality, but we need it. So I can stop the recording and we can see the final result together later. Okay, you see that the quality is really not bad. I think that we need an higher level of ambient anti-alias there, you see. So we can go, let's see, to be simple, we can go for 70%. Let's see what we have. We can do maybe 64 and 4. And another thing I think we have to do is, you see the glossiness there, and we need for sure a multiplier. I'm using a little bucket there. So let's go there inside the retracer, and let's check some parameters there, and you see that we can, for example, speed up a little bit, playing with the bouncing and also using the accelerator there, but it's not the meaning of this tutorial. So I think that we can just fix this parameter, and having an higher quality there for the harmonics GI, and we can be really precise using 1000 and without having the need to fix all the other parameters. And inside the material, I like just to have a little bit, let's check it, a little bit more sampling there. So we can have, for example, 32 for this one, and the same for this one, and maybe more for the glass, 64. Okay, close and save. So we are sure that the illumination is okay, so we can go back there and playing with a really fast 200 just to be sure. And I like to see the quality rendering. So you see the illumination is fast, and then we have to see the rendering. Please remember that if you like to have the depth of field in rendering, you have to set to on the depth of field on the camera before you render. Or if you like, you can render using also the depth pass, and then you can add in composing, as we saw in previous tutorial on Max Cookie. I think that now the anti-alias quality is really good, and I'd like just to see if the glossy quality is enough. So we have to wait to arrive, for example, there in this area, and there also on the door. And then we are ready to render the final image. Let's see just some bucket there to be sure. The glass is perfect. And I think that also the metal has not so big problem. We have just the dots and the grain due to the texture. Okay, so I think we can render the final image, and let's stop it. Okay. And to render the final image, let's save. You have to remember to set to 1000 there and medium plus there. You can use also medium, it's not so bad as quality. We have the right anti-alias value there, and then we can set 600 for 900, and we are ready to render, so I can save. And we'll see the final image together later. Okay, so the rendering is over, and that's the result. We can check together. You see the quality is really high, and if you like, you can do the same stuffs we done in composing for the rendering done with Array also on this render. And if you want, you can also render using the depth of field to have the depth of field there. And for the moment I stay with this one. You see that if we zoom we have a really high quality. So for the moment that's all. In the next part, on part 5, we'll work on the same project using V-Ray, so we'll see all the difference between all the rendering engine. So that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.